my name is Lindsay. Today I'm speaking about power of attorney. We're trying to promote this across South Ayrshire. There will also be some information at the end of the video about how you can contact me. Thank you.
So I've really just discovered what this thing called POA, power of attorney, and I really want to know, I think I know it's very important, and it's just how do I go about organising it, because I think I've reached a stage in my life I need to do it for myself, and my husband's still with us, which is good, but I think we need to make some arrangements, just to make sure that our family know what's to happen.
Exactly that, and that's what power of attorney is. So it's a legal document that allows you to choose someone as your power of attorney. So if something happens that means you can't make complex decisions for yourself, so if something happens with your health, if you're diagnosed with dementia, if you have a stroke or an accident, something that impacts your ability to make decisions, your power of attorney can then step in to make certain decisions for you. It's to do with welfare decisions, so that would be, for example, if you receive care, where you reside, and it's to do with financial decisions as well, so supporting you with your finances, liaising with banks, opening and closing accounts, all the kind of practical stuff that you need to do. So the power of attorney will then be able to do that for you.
So that would be somebody like, would it be like one of your children, or?
Can be, yeah, it can be whoever you...
Somebody younger, I presume, yes.
It can be whoever you choose, so a lot of people go for family members, but it can also be friends. If you've got a good friend that you'd rather leave your power of attorney, it can be whoever you feel knows you well, knows what your views are, knows what you would want. You can choose them as your power of attorney. It can also be more than one person as well. A lot of people worry about just having to pick one particular person, but if you've got two children, you can have both named on your power of attorney, so it could be more than one person.
Can I actually just ask, when you say family members, how and when do they get the power of attorney? For example, I know somebody who's got a power of attorney, it's their son, and the son is really keen on getting his hands on his mother's money. So, is there a point where he has to have something to say that he has power of attorney?
So within your power of attorney document, it will be written in who decides that you've lost capacity. For most people, it's generally a medical professional that will decide you've lost that capacity. So until then, your decisions remain your own. So it should never be that someone's taken over your decision making just because they've got power of attorney in place. It would only be at the point that you're deemed as lacking capacity. And you can have that written within your document, whatever you feel comfortable with. Most people will stick with as a medical practitioner decides. Some powers of attorney you can have when the power of attorney reasonably believes you've lost capacity, but for most people they're more comfortable with it being assessed by a medical practitioner, and it will be at that point the power of attorney comes into play, if you like. So until then your decisions are your own.
But people think if they've got a will, that's it. But
so you said to me, or I said to you.
So, could you re-emphasise that if you haven't got power of attorney and somebody particularly is in hospital, actually what actually happened?
From the hospital point of view, a lot of the time you'll hear discussion about delayed discharges, and sometimes that will be someone who's maybe within hospital who's lost capacity, so they can't make complex decisions about whether they go back home, whether they move on to a care home. So effectively they're quite stuck if they don't have a power of attorney in place, because there's no one with any legal powers to make decisions on their behalf. And I think some people find that surprising, because you just automatically assume your next of kin will be able to step in and do that. But with the power of attorney, it's that legal authority that allows the person to decide, can my loved one go home with care, or is it actually at the stage where they need to move on to a care home? So it's important decisions like that will come into effect. And if you don't have a power of attorney, it really just leaves you without any kind of legal authority to support that person from hospital. And that's when you might hear of guardianship, which is the next level up, if you like, from power of attorney. It's a bit more complex. It involves applying to the court. 2 medical reports would need to be done, a mental health officer report. It takes quite a long time, and it's much more restrictive than a power of attorney. So definitely, as you were saying, maybe a lot of people do think, well, I've got a will organised and that's me, that I'm fine, but the will only applies when you're no longer here. That'll help you sort out things with your family when you're gone. But the power of attorney is for when you're alive. It just means that your health needs have changed and you need someone to step in and make certain decisions for you. So it's great having a will in place, but I think the power of attorney is just as important, and that's what a lot of people don't realise. They just think that family will be able to step in and help, but actually
As you say, it's really part of the planning.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's part
it?
of
It's
the
planning
planning
for a
for the
different
future.
stage in your life.
Exactly, yeah.
I've actually heard as well of people in hospital that don't have a power of attorney, that social work quite often take over. Is that the case?
It can be. So if it's guardianship, they will always go to the family first to see if they want to take on guardianship. But you can understand for some people, they maybe feel that that's too much, you know, it's not something that they can manage. So the local authority can step in and be guardian for someone and kind of make certain welfare decisions. I think in the more complex cases it can take a long time. It should, from start to finish, take around 3 months to put a guardianship in place. And certainly that's kind of what we try and do within the local authority, is make sure it's as quick a process as possible. But it can, for other reasons, you know, if it's quite a complex case, it can take a number of months to put in place. Yeah.
So what's the process you have to go through to sort of get this power of attorney?
Power of attorney is one of the things. We want everyone to have one in place, but you hope that you never have to use it. You know, hopefully you'll remain in control of your decision making, you'll never lose capacity, but it's something that's so important to be there if you do lose that capacity, because it's someone that you trust, that knows you and hopefully knows your wishes, because you've maybe had that conversation, so they're able to step in and make some decisions, some really difficult decisions at times, or to support you with your finances if you can no longer manage that. So I think it's so important, you know, to consider that and to plan for the future and think, well, something happens to me tomorrow, who's there to kind of step in and make decisions for me, because otherwise it can leave you in a position where you've got no legal authority there to help.
Yeah, and you said that you go to a solicitor and so on. That sounds quite expensive. Are we talking quite a lot of money for this?
It can, so it varies across South Ayrshire. It tends to vary from between £300 and £500 across the solicitors' firms. So understandably that's a lot of money to be, you know, asking people to pay out. But the solicitors will always ask about your financial situation. So there's certain benefits, and if you're under a certain income, it's always worth having a wee chat with the solicitor about whether there's options to reduce that cost. But
And will all the local solicitors know about that? You know, if I just phone one.
Yeah, they will. You know, some people are entitled to things like legal aid, so it's always a wee conversation to have. And what I say to people is, I've got a wee list of local solicitors, so just phone round, you know, and see what the options are and how much it will be for drawing up a power of attorney, because they do vary slightly, but they tend to sit between £300 and £500 across South Ayrshire.
And I've actually heard that if you have to go for a guardianship, we're talking thousands. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. There's a huge difference in cost. Guardianship can be anything up to about £6,000, so it's a huge variation. Again, for that, legal aid is quite often an option for people, but yeah, there's a bit of a difference in cost between the power of attorney and guardianship.
I think I can manage to get in touch with a solicitor and so on myself. I'm quite capable of doing that, and I can go online, I can do that kind of stuff. If somebody couldn't do that and didn't, but still wanted to do power of attorney, what could we do for them?
So, well, myself, I offer a service where referrals can be made.
And that would be through the council?
They can be made to myself, and then I can go out and speak to people while at home, visit, telephone call, send out information, and I've got a wee pack there that's got frequently asked questions about power of attorney, a list of local solicitors, and we can give a wee bit of advice and support around about that for people who maybe would struggle doing that themselves. Yeah.
And is that in that wonderful Connect thing that you have, Marie?
Yeah, we know all about it. Everybody knows about signposting. And actually also if people are trying to do it themselves, we've actually got somebody in the Connect of Development Digital.
That's good.
So but it is, as I said, power of attorney is what you need to.
If you want some more advice and information about power of attorney, I will be in the Connect Hub on the 1st and the 3rd Friday of every month. I'm happy to take any questions. I can speak to you over the phone, send you out some information over the post, or pop in and see you just to give you some advice about power of attorney, how to put that in place, and some of the questions you might have round about it. So thanks very much. Thank you.